Friends, welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we take the movies we love, break them apart, to find out what gives them their magic. I'm your host, Josh Griffey, joined as always by my friend, co-host, and wet fluffy rabbit,
Alex Dandino.
All right, guys, before we get whit once again today, a little business. Everyone, we're on Patreon. That's right, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. Not only does it give you a voice in creating the show, we have a huge Patreon exclusive library. We got our mini-series rolling over there. We got feature-length commentaries. We got all kinds of fun stuff over there. If you can go support the show, every little bit of support is appreciated. The big selling point this time of year, if you're a patron, you will vote on the Patreon exclusives for our October Mega Marathon, which is right around the corner now, very close. You get a say in what those two movies become, right? Also, it's the only way that you get those two movies and the commentary, giving you the complete 31 days of podcasts in October, which I know you want.
Yep.
Because all of you love October and Halloween as much as we do.
Good times.
So if you go on over to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod, support the show, support yourself. That's the way it's got to be, guys. We appreciate anyone who is kind enough to do so. The YouTube Film Alchemist, the email filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. We're on all the socials you're on, so go ahead and reach on out. Chat us up. We're easy to get a hold of. Also, make sure you leave a 5-star rating and review everywhere you find the pod, and anywhere you find the pod. Helps us defeat the algorithmic oil barons that are possibly ripping a hole in the space-time continuum at the bottom of the algorithm, trying to suppress us, man. Trying to suppress the truth with cover-ups. So go on over there, 5 stars, sentence or two about why you like us. Means the world. Another thing, one more thing, we've not been saying this lately, but I keep forgetting. I think the best form of marketing for anything is for you to tell one of your movie-loving friends that the show exists. Send them an episode. We have 500 to choose from about. Send them an episode of a movie they like, and we'll take it from there. That direct connection, guys. That's how we're gonna build our underwater base with the lucrative contracts. Yeah, the lucrative contracts that each podcast listener brings. That's how we're gonna build our chemical base. All right, today we continue our theme of the pod gets weird.
Don't forget to go check out Griffey's filmmaking community, Misfit Parade, please.
Misfit Parade! That's right, we are misfitparade.net, or you can find us on all the socials. Misfit Parade's also the YouTube. Yeah, we're making our own short horror films. We're growing up to bigger and cooler projects that you're going to want to see. So go on over, Misfit Parade. Check us out. That's another good thing.
Please.
Sorry, I'm all stressed out already. Today, not only are we getting wet, but it's sweat wet. Because this is one of the most harrowing movie experiences for me.
I texted you while I was watching this movie, and I was like, there's no way you made it through this movie without just being in a flop sweat for
fucking hate it. Because this is the one thing about getting Whit Month that I don't know that we've stumbled on yet. But even the idea of being in a scuba suit, a space suit, anything like that, triggers my claustrophobia to the nth degree. I'm so claustrophobic that on our senior trip, right, we did a senior trip to Disney. At the end of the night, everyone piles in around the lake to watch the fucking fireworks show at Epcot, right?
Right.
I fucking climbed a statue and Disney security's trying to lasso me to bring me down. And I was sitting on top of this statue of some fucking man. I was like, I'm not getting down. I was fucking having a panic attack.
It's probably Walt Disney.
Insanely claustrophobic, right?
Yeah.
No, I didn't get a sense of anti-Semitism when I was on it, so I think it's just a normal.
Just a normal.
Yeah.
Got it.
It was just a guy. It was probably just a spaceman or something.
Probably just another weird racist from Florida.
Yeah,
boom.
Boom, roasted. Politique. No, we don't politique. But, but yes, I'm very claustrophobic. So movies like this and The Descent are true. I watch them because I love what the movie does. But they are hard movies. You'll never see me in space. You'd never see me underwater. You'll probably never even see me on a cruise. There's just a thing I'd be an earthbender if this was Avatar: The Last Airbender. I like my feet on the ground. I like to know I can bust a move if I have to. That kind of stuff, right? I don't like other people touching up against me all the time when I can't help it. It's rough, man. So the claustrophobia of this film, underwater, is what we're watching today. Newer flick. This movie is just an absolute fucking torpedo of a film.
Yeah.
We have like a minute opener, right, where they're like, the Mariana Trench. They're showing us like fucking graphs and shit. And then immediately we're in this Kepler base that's like 6 miles underwater, right?
Yeah.
One of the deepest points on planet Earth. K-Stu is brushing her teeth as the lights are kind of flickering. Mm-hmm. She sees a poor, dumb daddy longleg that somehow got himself all fucked up and is down in this base. Right? So there's this moment of, this is unnatural, which reminds us how unnatural it is that we go to these places as well.
Right.
And within about 3 minutes,
maybe, the movie starts.
Boom. We have a brief little bit of underwater, you lose all sense of day and night. All you know is awake and dreaming. I don't know what's what. Boom! And this movie starts and does not fucking stop. I mean, takes a couple breaths here and there, more for the audience than everyone else, but this movie is a fucking torpedo. They've manned the tube, and by the time we're there, we're just watching them press the button.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's one of the most effective disaster movies I've seen in years, and then it becomes something else at the end. But Alex, opening thoughts on Underwater.
Yeah, I think I watched this one with Andrea last night, and it was one of those things where both of us were like, whoa, oh my God, the movie started. Oh, wow. All right, lock it in. Because like I was expecting at least like, I don't know, you got to have the usual 15 minutes so she introduce everyone. Like,
very few
like
people
him.
do the Paul Schrader, right? Cut off the first 15, or is that Mamet? Cut off the first 15 and last 15 minutes of every script. Very few movies ever do that.
Yeah, that feels like a Mamet thing. Like,
yeah, this one does for sure.
Yeah. So this one was like, it was pretty shocking. Like, again, we turned it on, like, and I was like, we turned it on, and, you know, we usually, like, eat dinner while we're watching the movies a lot of the time. And I turned it on, and I was like, oh, God. Like, I was just, like, piling my food onto my plate and, like, running over so I could, like just, I was like, I got to lock in here. Because I was expecting, like, oh, yeah, we're down here living our lives. And you're just, like, counting off. You're like, that person's going to die. They'll probably survive. That one's going to die really horribly. That's the bad guy. Like, it's a really fascinating thing because we actually watched this the day after we watched Deep Rising.
Yeah.
Which is another reason. Again, this whole month, again, reiterates what I've said about being in the ocean, going on cruises, anything. The ocean doesn't want us, folks. Leave it alone. Stay on land.
The ocean does not fucking want it. There's a reason you wade out, right? You get some fucking water in your belly button, and it immediately starts throwing you back to the land.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to tell
you
right now.
Those aren't waves. Those are fucking ushers. Get the fuck
You find me a single movie. I have this argument with people all the time when they're like, don't you want to like experience stuff and go on a cruise? I'm like, no. Why would I ever want to get on a cruise? And I'm like, you tell me one movie about a cruise. You tell me one movie about a cruise that actually ended well, I'll stop saying this. I have not seen a single movie about a cruise that ended well. None. Not a one. A cruise is a bad idea. It's a bunch of idiots on a boat, no matter what.
Yeah.
Now, this is a bunch of people drilling for...
I cannot fucking move. I can't make a move.
Yeah.
And they're like, but it's like a huge mall on the ocean. I'm like, that's not a good selling point.
That's not a sell.
It's like a mall mixed with a carnival, mixed with shit-faced people. I was like, I want to be able... Like, this thing, if I'm in my car and someone tries to joyride me, right?
Right.
I can make a move out of there. If the ocean tries to deep rising me, I'm fucked. If I get in the water, then I get USS Indianapolis.
That's you versus the ocean. And let me tell you right now, how many movies have you seen where people versus the ocean works?
Yeah. No.
0.
You have to be like a badass like Thomas Jane in Deep Blue Sea. Yeah. I'm not diving underwater with knives in my mouth. Like, who the fuck do I think I am?
Exactly. Deepest, bluest, my hat is not like a shark's fin. I don't know what I'm doing, guys.
No. My stomach is like that of a beluga whale, so maybe I can float a while. But
perhaps I can disguise myself as an animal of the ocean, and they will ignore me.
Oh, look at that baby whale. No, they just see us as fucking prey, dude. You ever see Orca?
That's just a
How'd
guy.
that go? How'd that go?
Exactly.
Orca? You want to be fucking orca'd?
Real life orcas happening out there.
That's right.
Like,
they're learning how to attack our boats, dude. That movie was prophetic. Neither here nor there. That's not underwater.
Okay, so Underwater starts abruptly, which is great, by the way. Like, it truly is one of those things where I'm like, that was fucking rad. I really liked that a lot. It spends very little time, like, it does that thing that I think good movies do about, like, there's something I like about opening credit sequences sometimes, is when they give you all the information that you really need. Like, this is going to be a controversial take, but the Incredible Hulk does this, where it tells you sort of like everything that you need to know about.
The Ang Lee Incredible Hulk?
No. Well, they tried it in the Ang Lee Incredible. The one that Marvel Studios did with
E. Norton?
oh my god. Yeah, with Edward Norton. They tell you everything you need to know about why is he on the run? Done. Got it. Thank you very much. That's the end of it. That's the end of the conversation. So this sort of does the same thing. It tells you that they don't call it the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. This one's called like the Tion, whatever it is, Corporation.
Titan. The Titan class drill, Titan Industry.
It's a Titan class drill that's like doing excavating, whatever. Either way, whatever evil corporation that we never see the face of is doing drilling in the Mariana Trench and clearly knows what's going on. You learn
all
everything.
All we need to know is that if anyone's down on the bottom of the floor at this scale, it's for no good. It's for no good. It's a profit
margin.
There's
no room for error, for one. Like, it's like you're deep underwater, no room for error. Your communications are cut off, and there's been strange sightings of things. Got it. I don't need to know any more information.
Okay, so this is a funny thing. The first time I saw it, I had no idea this was going to turn into a monster movie, so it's such a pleasant surprise in the theater. I just remember someone saying it was underwater, and I was like, okay, I think me and Amy went because we just had the night to like go do anything, and we're like, we'll go see that. And I'm pretty sure even the poster is like an underwater helmet, and there's like jaws around the edge of the poster.
There are?
And I think maybe, if I remember the poster. And I'm still not sure that I put it together, especially what was going to happen. I think in my brain it was like, all right, maybe this will be a 47 meters thing. Like they get out and there's like underwater creatures. I didn't know we were taking like a hard science fiction-y monster turn.
Yeah.
But what I'll say is the movie even before that, right? What I like is you don't have a lot of room to pause, right? But when we do the opening scene, we start by just spinning the station. Look at how skinny this is. And the lights are flickering. And they stop on K-Stu, right? And you're like, just the thought of her being like, every time a light flickers in this place, you could be dead within seconds.
Yeah.
So it's not the awake or dreaming. It's that little fucking bit of constantly.
It's that like
being reminded of your.
You spend.
You're on the
razor's
razor's edge with the abyss.
Yeah, you are spending the entire time you're there. Like you're there. Imagine like this is the thing that always is like psychologically strange to me is like doing a job like that, and imagine being in that situation. There's no way you're not always thinking about your mortality. Like, there's no way that that's not, like, you have to do a, like, job that is serious and, like, any moment you could die because you didn't do your job properly. There's, like, if you're dividing your brain into, like, 4, I don't know, 70% of the whole thing is being taken up by, like, there's a chance I could die, like, any second.
It's
like 30%
it's one of those
job.
things, though, because they write into the story that K-Stu, we learned down the road, right? She lost her fiance to the ocean.
Yeah.
So they play it as if that's supposed to say, she wants to get lost down here. She's searching for something deep down here.
Right, and like her and John Gallagher knew each other. They were deep sea divers already.
There's definitely a people who are a little more brazen about the life and death results, or at least because this is one thing about this movie. Is this a movie where normally you'd have more panicky members? This movie, they kill off essentially the entire base fast.
Yeah.
Like within the first couple minutes, right? We see K-Stu make that harrowing decision. When we see those two guys running down the hall as the tubes are just poof, poof, imploding. And it's real fucking terror immediately into this movie, right? She's got to open the fucking panel and do, hardwiring.
Yeah.
And she has to make the choice because she's the only one that knew how. And just for sure watches those guys die right before her because of a choice she made. So this movie has you'll see her struggle with it. But I think at one point the captain, Vincent Cassell, says, you have to stop looking back and you have to start moving forward. That's kind of the mantra of this movie. So you have a bunch of people who are in this MacGyver-esque scenario where it's a job's got to get done. We just got to do it. So the movie keeps this really hard charging momentum, right? And your moments are, okay, so now we're in an elevator going down. There's nothing for us to do. Now we take a moment to explore the ramifications of this, right? Hey, don't you have a daughter? Yeah, I got a daughter. He can't remember it. So in those moments of travel where we're not doing whatever, but they're still moving while it's happening. So the movie kind of doles it out a la carte. Things that hopefully, because that was the one thing about the movie that kind of bothered me a little bit the first time, is the intern, as they call it, T.J. Miller calls her, right? I guess this is, T.J. Miller, he was already at the bottom of the ocean, but he wasn't canceled yet, right? He was buried, but not canceled yet. He is kind of constantly like the voice of the audience saying like, this is a terrible idea, but oh well. And that's kind of the difference between people like this and us, right? Is that they just are get the job done people, right? Whereas I think me and you multiple times would just be like, that's it, we're dead, leave us.
Yeah.
I just wait to get crushed. Like, I'm not doing this. Jerk myself into a frenzy and then be imploded. Like, that's it. I'm not crawling through things. Oh, I think sewage is mixed in with this. I'm out.
Yeah.
But they're hard chargers, right? And then only the research assistant is having the proper emotional response. And by the end of the movie, even that gets weeded out because now she's been inundated by these like hard chargers, right? So now she can like start pushing forward. Whereas I think most people would just collapse mentally completely. So it kind of bothered me, but also it's the people who go down there, don't you think inherently would have the psychology of we got to get it done.
That's what I was gonna. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is like I'm putting my own sort of like reflective nature of how I feel about being underwater towards this. Like I would imagine people who do that job, like probably don't have a lot of time to think about it, so they just put it to the side, or they are already sort of in a situation. It's interesting, like
a morbid handshake agreement, right?
That concept of like everyone seems to have like something, like something like we never find out what Jessica Henwick, who plays the research assistant, we never find out what her like thing is other than she's emotional, I guess.
She's in love with him, so maybe they came down in tandem.
Maybe. I mean, she's the only one who is not void of emotions over the predicament they're all in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like John Gallagher's character, he just is constantly like, "It'll be all right. I love you." It's like
John Gallagher
he's trying
Jr.'s
to project
character
strength for her, I guess, but like,
what I don't understand about John Gallagher
Jr.'s
character. Well, I think what's interesting is. It's weird to say this, and I think because it's John Gallagher Jr., I just assume a little more because he's been in a lot of great movies and a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
Like, he's a great actor.
Good actor. Right.
So I think because it's weird to watch him play a character that's just like sort of criminally underwritten. Like, it's such a strange thing. Like, he literally just becomes like, Chekhov's dragged body across the bottom of the ocean to get you like through, like, that's like your thing.
They set him up to where every scene is going to be the scene where he's telling her, like, I love you. I believe you'll have a good life. Like, and he'll die. But
after
he never
they
dies.
Get through, like his oxygen scrubber. Basically, his oxygen scrubber.
They say his oxygen got hit, and then we see him underwater, like, for another hour? Like,
he still breathes underwater at some point. He's just like, I don't feel great. And I'm like, all right, well, most people would die from breathing their own carbon dioxide.
1 hour of no oxygen will do that to you, brother. So it's just, I'm not a scientist, nor do I think this movie rests on like a hard science landscape.
Look, I'm not.
But it is weird that he's the
debating
guy
the science of it.
Because like he couldn't have been T.J. Miller's character. You have to have. That's where you put your comedic actor. And T.J. Miller's really good in this movie. He's really good in this role. Because he's that perfect laughing in the face of the situation character.
Right.
They give him just enough pathos, right? Where he's handing the bunnies like, I bequeath little Peter to you. And if you lose him, he'll haunt you for all eternity. Like, he has these good moments of like respite as he's facing the void, right?
Right.
He does really well exactly what he's supposed to do. I guess John Gallagher Jr.'s one moment in the film is he's the one who kills the first baby creature. And he's like, I'll name it, I killed it. And it's like, but that's not. You could have cast that with any other
line
actor,
could have been said by
it probably wouldn't have changed the role. It's a weird role that he's in. I'll say that. right?
Also, I'm saying like he's literally just scenery for like
because he's a really good actor.
80% of the movie.
Like Vincent Cassel is a really good actor, right? He's very beloved actor for a long time. As the captain, he's got some gravitas. He's making choices, right? He has this. He's the one who keeps turning around and reassuring them, like, this will be fine.
Well,
and gets a really great hero's death. That makes sense because he's Vincent Cassel.
Well, because I thought about this because I don't know what it is about the movies we're watching. Maybe it's the subgenre of like underwater or at sea stuff because it has many similarities to, horror in space, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But all of the casts for these movies have just been so fucking stacked, man. Like we watched Deep Rising, and again another cast where people who are like legitimately great actors also had like bit parts that were just like burned in the first. Like Jamon Hansu dies in the first 15 minutes of Deep Rising. You're like, huh?
He wasn't Jamon Hansu yet, right? But this is the thing. In these movies, you're always running and trying to not get killed by the set.
Right. So
when you get your small moments like the dinner scene in Aliens, you got to have actors that can pull it out of us in a small window.
Well, and I think that's what it is. Like, to me, I think that's why John Gallagher Jr. works, because like he doesn't have a lot to do. All he has to do is be, and this is why he was cast probably, all he has to do is be sympathetic. We have to be like, I hope that guy survives. Because like, okay, if it was TJ Miller's oxygen scrubber,
he's the little fucking rabbit of the human crew.
He's the little Peter of all the humans. Like, because like if it was TJ Miller whose oxygen scrubber got damaged, you're like, well, at least he doesn't have to talk anymore. Like that's the kind of thing. You're like, all right, cool, well, whatever.
Yeah, Jar Jar Miller won't get another line. It's fun.
That's what it is. He's the little Peter of the movie. He's like, we got to get this guy through it. All right, now I see why John Gallagher Jr. was cast, because we all empathize with a guy who has a scruffy beard, wears a Hawaiian shirt underwater, and absolutely has to survive.
The fucking undersea hipster who scores a girl
well done,
above his
William
league.
Eubank. Well done. I see what you did there.
We all root for that guy, right? A lot of guys probably sadly are like, I'm the TJ Miller, and it's like, don't say that part. You're probably not Vincent Cassel, right? So yeah, we are probably most likely the hipster boyfriend who's not being super helpful.
I'm that guy, or I'm definitely the guy whose face mask breaks and implodes in the first.
That guy's awesome because he was in a show I love, that Archive 61 on Netflix. That just kind of petered out and didn't like measure up to what it could have been, but started great. That's another one of those where K-Stu's like, he gave me the good helmet, which we see specifically, and like he chose to die like that. I'm like, I don't think so. I think he just chose to die faster on the deck. Yeah. Like, had he just stayed above you, he would have died instantaneously instead of having to watch his mask. Dude, that scene. But this movie gets a ton out of its fucking.
That is my favorite scene in the movie. Honestly, I was like, damn, that is harsh.
Oh man, it comes fast. He implodes. They're floating around, and then they're like walking out through chunks of his body.
And
viscera. Like, awesome.
Jessica Henwick's just like, You're like, awesome.
God,
this is great.
It's another thing I hate in these movies. This triggers my claustrophobia really bad, where they're like, control your breathing, and they're like fogging up the inside of their mask, and you know they can't wipe it clean. It's like,
yeah.
I just start like dying on the inside. But yeah, I mean, that's probably like our last big moment before we get to the monster stuff.
Yeah.
God damn, is that scene incredible. Like, that scene fucking rules. Because that's what they do, is they're constantly just charging through these things, right? Like, TJ Miller, when he goes, you're crazy, I'm a big boy. And he's like, I can't crawl through those tunnels. I go, yeah, that's where I check out and die.
Yeah, I'd be like,
he makes it, and I'm like, no, I'm dead. They put on the, like, Warhammer Space Marine outfits. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, maybe I last a little longer. And then all of a sudden, they're like, we got to go rescue a drop pod. And I go, nope, not doing that.
I'm not doing that.
I'm out. When TJ Miller's like, this is the worst idea ever, but let's do it anyway. I was like, that'd be me. I just wouldn't do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's this really effective kind of like heart-pounding tension. What do you make of the moment where all of a sudden we say, and now sea beast.
Monsters.
Kind of merman.
This is the thing that I think is so unique about underwater and why it works. Because that claustrophobia that you so love, that all of us absolutely adore in these kinds of movies. I think what's cool, because it's a movie about the bottom of the ocean, which is mostly unexplored. It's vast. To make a movie about the bottom of the ocean claustrophobic is pretty awesome. And they do it in this really effective camera move where they basically turn the exploration portions into a first-person shooter game.
Yeah.
And that is shit that I was like, I am legitimately scared right now. Like, something is going to... Because those games... Like, there's a couple of games that... like, not just Alien Isolation. There's another game... I can't remember what it's called. But there's another game that is so terrifying to play that does the same shit. Mm-hmm. But this first-person shooter... camera underwater where you're just like looking around with everyone and you don't see anybody, like there's no wide shot of them underwater. It's
you can't
all
see
in close
anything.
up.
It's just dark and like the stuff floating through
And you're just seeing their camera, the lights on their helmets, and you don't know what's coming. It's very effective and fascinating. And then when the first time you see anything, like, oh, it's right there. Oh my God.
It's
like,
kind of the extra scary element of underwater
cool,
versus space, is especially in these like Terminator armor, right? Mm-hmm. There's this simple idea that like if I had enough oxygen, I could just walk the fuck back to my planet. Like I'm on my planet. I could just walk back to the beach, right? And in a space movie, it's like even if you get out of the ship, you're fucked. There's nowhere to go. In this one, he's just like, hey man, let's fucking walk to the Roebuck.
Right.
If they were able to do that, it seems like, okay, we could just walk. But then you get down there and you're like, oh, fuck.
Like,
and it hits you. So there's a little extra hopefulness of we can walk somewhere. And the audience are like, we walk every day. I walk to get a fucking sandwich and I can do that. I can walk.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, no. So it's just real. It's really effective in all that it's doing. Right. And I think there's what I love about it and why I think it stays very effective throughout the end is it's a movie that really well sets the stakes and the horror of the scenario way before we drop a monster into the mix.
I think
the monsters to like
Vincent
Cassell and them, like they take it as, well, people, we still got a mission to do. It's like you found a new fucking predatory species. We see the talons, we see the size. They've got the fucking Cthulhu faces, the mind flayer mouths, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're still just like, well, doesn't change our mission. You're like, but
I think what's interesting about underwater altogether is like, again, the focus on the claustrophobia of every situation is so important because in another universe where this movie is made, there's this focus on the vastness of the ocean, the vastness of like, and I think that is like the critical error in making a movie like this when you have a story that is about essentially like a story that's essentially about people surviving. Like we get the danger of being underwater. Like being in those helmets with those people is harrowing. Hearing them breathing, and then on top of that, like when the monsters start showing up, you're like, holy shit! Like at any moment,
that scene when it like drags Vincent Cassell away, right, and she's attached, and they're on that tower, and you see it like lurking at the edge of the light, getting braver and braver. The movie's so focused on claustrophobia. The monster actually puts her fucking face and helmet in its mouth. Yeah. Twice. Right? Like
twice we see that like go
fucking
down.
Brutal.
Like, and that's the other thing. Like
brutal.
It's like claustrophobia and claustrophobia. It's like a hat on a hat moment where she's getting like garbled and you're like, dude, that means like, because when we talked about Anaconda during Deep Rising, I was thinking about that too. It was like, all those people, none of them had fucking suits on. That means you're extra protected from also getting like digested. So you have to just sit there and watch it happen, which is fucked up. It's
also a cool detail because it shows you how this creature eats. It's like an extra biological detail that you're not expecting. Cool. You're expecting like a ripping, slashing. Because when we see T.J. Miller, they're like, it ripped him out of his suit. And so we think it's going to be that kind of a monster. But it might swallow you whole and just digest you. It's a nice, like, extra little biological
Nice little
element.
layer of terror. Yeah, I like that.
That scene, when Vincent Cassel's looking around and we see the creature shadowy right behind her, awesome. We're just in.
I do like
right? And then the movie, it kind of devolves
I
into,
love
for a
that.
second, right? The scene that I think is kind of dumb, where it got a little too big for its britches, because the one time the movie starts to fail a little is when it's fully, like, big CG landscapes, because we lose that tension, right? And when they're trying to run and they're like, things are falling from the sky and we got to get to the trolley. You're like, now it just looks green screen. Now it just looks video game. So it loses a bit of steam. But then immediately we're back in the trolley and TJ Miller gets got and we got more problems. So that stuff,
even before
that stuff always works.
I mean, after, like, actually, I was okay with all that. It's when she has to put on the other suit, the yellow one, after they get to, I can't remember if they get to the Roebuck, but basically they have to get to the pods. It's like right before the end of the movie.
She ends up in another place after the captain implodes himself.
It's not
to save
the
her.
Roebuck, it's the other...
The way station,
whatever the
fuck it is.
Whatever that other station is that, like, they knew about but didn't know, whatever. Doesn't really matter. But the other suit she has to put on, when she starts when they're like starting to go towards the Roebuck and they, like, look up and they start seeing the hands and all that stuff, like the little hand things floating around them. When she starts getting her ass beat by that other one, that's like
a great, like, because it looks like a classic, like, local haunted house, right, with shit dangling.
Yeah, like,
and we know it's
just
this
like
monster.
The toilet paper dangling. Yeah.
Right, and the other lady, the research assistant, her alarm goes off, oxygen alarm.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go for her, it goes for K-Stu, and we're like, man, the Ocean really hates this motherfucker. Like, just hates her guts.
Ocean really wants to kill Kristen
She's,
Stewart.
like, really, like, stick-to-itive, right? Like, I built a new suit, I'm ready, I'm going to keep going, even though I should just quit at this station. And then it's such a moment of catharsis when that thing is swallowing her, and she goes, eh. She has the gun right in front of her face mask. We can see it. She shoots a hole in this thing and then fucking rips through his body to keep taking steps. And you're like, yeah. And then you turn. This scene is just
cool.
Like, every moment is awesome. And then you see the other monsters. You're like, fuck. And then all of a sudden they go still. They go still. And then the movie's like, you want cool? Here's a fucking overdose of cool. They're all living in the pockmarked.
Yeah, they're all living in the acne of this Cthulhu.
A gigantic. It's essentially Cthulhu, right? I don't think they showed his little baby wings or whatever. This thing is Cthulhu.
They're all living inside his acne.
Gently dreaming Cthulhu. And they wake up and you're like, oh, you thought those were scary. There's a fucking kaiju that threw around this 6,000-ton drill at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
And you see this gigantic, and they're just sitting there looking up at it. Oh my God. And then now the research says, like, get in here, and it's fucking blowing up the rig, and they have concussions galore.
Of course.
It's fucking amazing. Like, it's really great, and it gets back to this moment. Because they set her up for a bookend moment, right? Because at the start of the movie, she kills those two people running. Shadowy people we never see. The end of this is they get in the Roebuck. They're trying to fucking run and fight, and they're slipping around, right? The monster's outside. And earlier in the movie, the guy from Archive 61, he said, this wasn't your fault. You saved the whole rig. The only reason you had to make that choice is because I didn't know how to close the door. Now at the end, the movie provides her two people which she can save, right?
Right.
In this couple, right? That has a future. That has something above that her and her lost fiance never has. So she makes the choice, I'll shoot him up, right? She even punches that fucking lady in the face.
Punches Jessica Henwick in the face. She's like, sit down.
It's like, both of us are going to die or you're going to live. And she's like, no, I want to pretend that I morally care that you live. And she just bops her. And I was like, fuck yeah.
Later.
This is a bit of a Titanic scenario because me and my son were just like rolling our eyes. I'm like,
they could both fit in the pod.
Yeah, K-Stu weighs 100 pounds.
Maybe.
She doesn't even have hair in this one, so maybe less. I think they both and John Gallagher Jr. is no fucking gargantuan.
Yeah. The three
not like he's
small
Andre the
people
Giant.
could have
Yeah,
fit
he's not
in two
Andre
pods.
the Giant on a 70s plane.
Yeah, this isn't
Fit in the
TJ
fucking
Miller.
pod.
T.J. Miller didn't survive for a reason because
T.J. Miller might require a whole pod, right? Me and you would require a whole pod. They could easily fit, and I know it's like, oh, they don't have a 5-point harness. They might get bounced around. All right, well, I'm going to die down here anyways.
Yeah, I would rather have
take my
massive concussion.
If it's shooting up, that's stupid. She easily could have saved herself. But then the movie, because this movie is very, very clever. The movie knows that all of us are saying, we're Titanicing again. Let her in the pod. But no, niche.
But
the monsters, Mama calls and says, Mama said knock those pods out.
Right.
She has somehow this incredible graphics display that animates the fucking asteroid.
Squeezes all his little pimples, and they all come flying out.
Yeah. Like John Belushi in Animal House. Guess what I am? That's it. And it's going to destroy said pods, right? And so the reason she stayed behind is not because she couldn't fit, but because someone had to deal with this fucking beast. This unknown creature from the depths, right? Nature herself personified, the thing that, loosely we say took her husband. She even says, right, the research assistant even has that line, we're not supposed to be down here.
Right.
We took too much, and now the ocean, nature, this creature are taking back. At one point, it's mentioned that we dug so deep, we cracked this geothermal pocket, which let these creatures exist down there, and now they're up here.
Right.
Like the Meg, right? Like we broke the fucking cloud line of the Meg, whatever. But somehow she's getting her chance because she talks about how the scariest thing that almost killed her was that lack of control to change anything, to affect an outcome. Now she has a moment to press a button and affect an outcome. And it is kind of this really sweet moment. She even looks through the glass to the creature and says, you have 60 seconds. And the creature's like, trying to like swim up. Probably not because of what she said, but that's how it's played, which is kind of a silly image in your head.
It's just one of those harsh things you say. It's like a great relic of the 90s. Is like a thing you say to a character that doesn't understand what you're saying. That's always one of my favorite moments in like 90s movies like this is like, it's dinner time. And the animal's like it's like a Scooby-Doo thing.
Yeah, well, once Shark 3D, Jaws 3D introduced, they're like, like they have deep souls like us and they roar in pain as they're not getting their maws filled. But it's a cool scene. We see this big fucking implosion at the bottom. I think that's an explosion outwards.
At that
we see
depth,
the
who knows?
Cthulhu creature get pulled in. And then the movie just does the like, hey, 2 people were found. Massive cover-up. The tapes were lost.
Yeah. Oh,
and
no, what are we going to do? And
going
drilling.
back for more. So we don't know if the company is just stupid and doesn't know. Are they moving the site?
It's just
but
a
we hear
Whalen
down
Yutani
below,
thing.
right? When they're on they're like, welcome to the drill. The Titan-class drill creates 6 million barrels of crude a year. And it's like,
it's got
that's
this
why
real, like,
all of this is, because it's so subtle, right? The whole movie
it's got
is
this
painted,
real BioShock vibe.
Right. We absolutely know that this is capitalism what wrought the horror of this film.
Right.
Without a doubt, we know it's money that caused this. And when it's just there on the PA system, like gently calling behind him at the end, you're like, you fucks, of course. And then at the end, it's cover up, cover up, cover up. We're doing it again. Run it back. She blew that thing up. We'll be fine. There's no way there's more horrors down there because that's what we do. In the name of money, we will constantly send others, lessers, to go face that on the front line.
Right.
And it's just one little extra element of like, it kind of gives you a cold chill down your back. It's like, yeah, those billionaires are just going to send down another couple hundred people to rebuild all that and eventually be fucking food for these things again? Because of course they will. Right. What if they unleash something worse? What if something else? They don't care. That's what it's about. The barrels of crude. And so it's one last kind of fuck you following K-Stew's like heroic human choice. It's a really fucking strong movie. It gets the most out of its set piece. It has a fucking breakneck momentum. The cast is phenomenal. And at the end, they just add in this, hey, do you also like Lovecraftian Beast? And you're like, I do.
I do.
And then
Brings
at
it.
the end, they're like, and you like a little fucking whiff of X-Files at the end, government cover-up. You're like, you know I do.
You know I do.
I mean, stop. I can only get so erect.
After all that claustrophobia, I need something to pump my blood.
I need a release badly.
I need a release.
It's a really fucking awesome movie. And even though it's newer, I still feel like there's a lot of people that just kind of missed it. I think this hit like right around.
It was a 2020 movie.
COVID-y stuff.
Movie.
Yeah. So it just kind of got lost in the shuffle. But I think it's a fucking awesome.
Pretty cool.
Because it's an Alien riff, right? They're kind of redoing Alien.
Oh, I mean, like even the opening.
They do a great job of it.
The title shot of like what the title is. I'm like, Alien. That's cool. That's great.
Hey, man.
I think what's smart is it puts me in the mood and I know what I'm about to watch. Like that is a huge thing when it comes to these kinds of movies. It's not a riff.
There are a lot of
it's
movies
a riff.
there are a lot of movies that riff on Alien that do not do it as good as this.
Yeah, agreed.
And it finds
This
it
was good.
like a few minutes into the movie, you're not sitting there going, "Oh, it's Alien again." You're just lost in the journey because it does a good job. That's it for Underwater. I hope you guys had as much fun with it as we did. Woo! This Underwater, this witness. Now we're gonna do another, probably the king of the underwater claustrophobia movie, The Abyss. I think I said that last week, but The Abyss is happening this week for sure. We got to locate it. Yeah. We couldn't find it for this week, so we're going to have to go buy some physical copies probably and do The Abyss. So that's happening, people. Again, the next thing that's happening for the pod, a lot of you listeners, this is the crowning achievement of the year. The October Mega Marathon, 31 days, 31 pods. Every day of the month of October, we release a new podcast discussing a horror movie for you. We're close enough now, I think we can announce the lineup. So we're starting with the rest of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, right? We already did part 1. We'll shuffle it up to where it syncs up with these. All the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, right? We're doing the Scream 5 and 6, which we had not gotten to, so we're finishing the Scream franchise, which we've already done before. And then we're also going to be, with the help of our friend Carmelita Valdez McCoy, covering the entire Phantasm franchise. So that's the first half of October. Then the second half, we'll have a cadre of amazing guests, Patreon exclusives over there. If you follow us on all the socials, you'll see the announcement when the graphic comes out. Once that's finalized and locked. So we hope you guys are excited for it. We hope you're ready to watch a fucking ton of horror movies with us. Start your homework now. We gave you 15 right there to watch. So start your homework now. Get ahead of the curve. If you want every movie in the month of October, you got to go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. You may still be early enough upon hearing this to actually help vote on which horror movies you want to be the exclusives. We appreciate it. It's the best way to help us here at the show. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for those of you who do or are even considering, man. We appreciate it. The YouTube Film Alchemist, the email filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. Find us on the socials. Reach on out. Make sure you're leaving 5-star ratings and reviews. And most importantly, you got a friend that loves horror movies. Let them know the October Mega Marathon is nigh, guys. Let them know it's happening now.
Tell them we have cool stuff.
It's the perfect time for your horror-loving friends to join the cause and have 31 podcasts in 31 days. It would mean the world to us if you guys could spread the word on that. More than anything, thanks for your time. We're the Film Alchemist. I'm Josh Griffey.
I'm Alex Dandino. Guys, stay on land. Stay on land.